So we're headed home. I have the chicks on my lap here. They usually come in a cardboard box like this that has holes for ventilation and the packing labels and all of that. Make sure that you have the heat on. If it's a little warm for you, then it's probably good for the chicks. These guys will only need to sit in here for the ride home for only like 5-10 minutes, and we'll get them home and start to get them settled in to their new home in the buckets on the front porch first 3 to 7 days of their life. We are going to go ahead and prepare their new home, which is going to be this bucket right here. We put paper towels down because of pine shavings that we have down in there as their bedding, so that then when the chicks get into their new home, they don't think that the pine shavings are food, so then they don't eat the pine shavings. I would recommend having one feeder if you have limited space, so I'm gonna go with this feeder. Got a couple watering options here. This one should work. We're gonna try that out, but instead of just putting normal water in here or even just warm water in here, we're going to make up an electrolyte solution because these chicks have been under immense stress over the past couple days of their life. So you want to make sure that you're able to get them off to a good start by giving them some electrolyte. Heat lamp, you can just use a normal floodlight, just something to give them light and warmth. You want to make sure that this light is secured. They sell little wires that can come out over the top so that if it does fall down, it doesn't catch anything on fire. We will probably find those and then we can put them on the light. So now we just put feed in the feeder, electrolyte water for the chicks in the waterer. When you're putting the chicks in, you need to dip their beaks in the water so that they know that that's where the water is. And then after you dip their beaks in the water, go ahead and set them by the feed so that they know where both the water and the feed are. Just enough so that they lift their head up into the sky when they finish. You don't want to dip it too far because then they won't be able to breathe. They just won't do too well. We have the chicks eating, which is a very good thing that they're getting right to the feed, starting to eat. They're also drinking water. So now we're just gonna leave these guys alone. Make sure that they're warm enough so that they can have minimal stress and be very happy. And remember that you are going to be the mother hen for them for a while because they don't have a mother hen. Basically, what you do is you just make sure that they have enough feed, enough water, all of those things so that these guys can thrive. This right here is the shed that we keep the pine shavings in, but we also keep our chicks in here. So I'll give you a little update on them. Currently, they are in the brooder right here. So they're in that phase of life. So even though I was sharing about getting them in the mail, still currently they are in the brooder because I was taking that before I posted my last video. So now they are to this stage, they are in the brooders. So here are the chicks. They're getting bigger. Right there's their waterer, and then there's their feed. So I'm just gonna take care of these guys real quick instead of waiting until later to do that. These right here are the pine shavings. This is the current chick size. They're actually getting pretty big. Starting to get some feathers on the wings there. So we're giving them plenty of feed to make sure that they're able to grow. Well, that's just about it for these chicks.